Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Elliot Grigg. This is the big fight breakdown. The big fight taking place in Ipswich, Portman Road this Saturday. Fabio Wardley, Justis Huni, big heavyweight fight, big fight for the winner. Undefeated versus undefeated. Elliot, good to be joined by you as always. I want to start off this video by talking kind of about the fight we were supposed to see. We were supposed to see Fabio Wardley against Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Instead of this fight, Jarrell Miller, shoulder injury, issues with his promoter, Dmitry Salita. We don't know fully why he's not there, but the reason is shoulder injury. Is this a tougher fight for Fabio Wardley, in your opinion? Justis Huni, is it a tougher fight?
You know what? I'm going to have to say no. I don't think it is a tougher fight. And the reason I don't think it's a tougher fight is you look at, I mean, Miller brings a kind of X factor, I think, in some ways, like inside the ring and outside the ring. I think, he's obviously had more fights than Justice Huni. I think if you look at them kind of physically, I mean, let's leave weight for a minute, but let's leave kind of height. They're roughly sort of similar sort of heights, etc. But obviously, Big Baby will come in, as we know, quite a big size. So I think for me, like, there's always that sort of puncher's chance that he would have. And I think with Wardley, we look at it and go, he's obviously fought guys, that are credible recently. Obviously, Fraser Clark being sort of a good fighter, obviously. But I think we're waiting for someone who can really rock his chin, and like will potentially throw fire with fire. And I think Big Baby Miller would have done that. And I think, Big Baby obviously got stopped. I quite like calling him Big Baby. Big Baby obviously got stopped by Daniel Dubois, obviously at the end of that fight. But he took some digs for him before then as well. So in a way, I'm kind of inclined to think he could take a bit of Wardley's power. So when Wardley comes out sort of swinging, etc., I expect sort of Miller to be able to take it. And obviously can take it to the body because he's got so much cushion. So I think for me, no, I actually don't think it's as tough a fight as Baby Miller. But I also think if you think of the promotional aspect of it as well, that Miller would just bring it in press conferences. He'd stick it on you. He just, trash talks quite, trash talks well, to be honest. Whatever it needs to be said would be said. So I feel like in a way he gets an easier run to the fight and also during the fight. This is my opinion and take on this.
Yeah, brilliant. Look, I'm a bit gutted that it's not Jarrell Miller. I just think that first press conference was about a month or so, a couple of months ago, was so explosive, so entertaining. Maybe kind of went over the line on a couple of occasions, and I was really looking forward to seeing what was going to happen at the next press conference, at the weigh-in, of course. But yeah, that's not going to happen. Maybe February Wardley and Jarrell Miller will fight in the future. We'll see. Um, on the other, yeah, on in the kind of the on the away corner. Elliot, we've got Justis Hoon, who's undefeated, 12-0, seven stoppages. Last three fights have all ended in early stoppages, all in the second round. But Justis Hoon possibly doesn't have that kind of big name on his resume. Kevin Lorena, arguably his best win. We saw Kevin Lorena out in action against Daniel Dubois a few years ago now. How, from what you've seen of Justis Hoon, how good is this guy? Because he's undefeated, so you can't write him off. He's 26, is still a young heavyweight. But maybe we've not seen a lot of him at kind of at a certain level. But what's your gut feeling on how good you think this guy is?
So I'm basing this off the pool of having watched that Lorena fight, obviously in Saudi. I watched a bit of the Tabiti one before that. So for me, those are really the two that I've seen. When I look at him, I think doesn't have the power necessarily to sort of to trouble Fabio Wardley, really. I don't think that as well. You look at the sort of level of fighters he's been fighting against. Yeah, all right, he's kind of stopped. I think he got something like 7 KOs in 12, but the guys he's been fighting haven't been kind of have been at a certain level, as you say. But then equally, I look at it and you go, no, he dropped out of the. He was a top 10 with quite a few of the three of the four governing bodies till quite recently. As well. So you go, well, maybe there's something they're kind of seeing potential there, or a sort of ascent of sorts. But I think I look at this, I almost feel like this is Justice Huni for me is almost where I'd say Fabio Wardley would have been before the Fraser Clark fights. That sort of thing. We get like, a lot of good potential, but needs opponents, needs opponents. I don't think Kevin Loren obviously been around the block. Is well, it's a credible victory. Looking at points as well, you're going, that's kind of concerning to a degree. So I think he's kind of a step back in development from Fabio Wardley, maybe two steps back. But yeah, I think we need to see a sort of credible opponent. And if he wins here, obviously, to be fair, you'd obviously have to say, wow, bloody hell, you are probably a top 10 heavyweight. So fair play to you. But I think for me, without wishing to give my prediction away, I think the odds are somewhat stacked against him based on previous fighters, and caliber that we've seen with the two men.
Yeah, I think, but bearing in mind, he's only had 12 pro fights. That's not, in my opinion, that's not a lot. And to be going into kind of a stadium fight as the away fighter after only 12 fights is a big test as well. Going back to Wardley, Elliot, do you view him as a top 10 heavyweight? And I'm interested to see what your thoughts are on this. So the Ring Magazine rankings, which are probably the most respected rankings in boxing, have got him as number 10. Obviously he's ranked highly with some of the other governing bodies. And it's a really tough one because I mean, when it comes to heavyweights nowadays, people have differing opinions on where's Anthony Joshua at now, where's Zhilei
Mm.
Zhang at, where's Hrgovic at, where's Martin Bakole at, because these guys have had so many ups and downs the last couple of years. But in your opinion, is Fabio Wardley a top 10 in the sense that you can't find more than nine guys to beat him?
Very, very interesting one because I feel like you've got five probably guys on the list. You obviously Usyk, Parker. I'd have a Tuma above him, Dubois. Um, I mean, maybe even Caballero, but like you'd probably say would like be definitely above him. And then, but for me, that kind of like outside the top sort of five, it's kind of a bit of a wild west, in my opinion. You've obviously like Bacoli's up there, isn't he? Bacoli's up there in the top 10, and we've also saw what happened with Bacoli over recently as well. And you think, actually, do we need to sort of check that? Is Bacoli top 10 by default? Is he what you describe as a legit top 10? I think FA Jabba was in there. Same thing applies to him. Like, are you kind of like a legit top 10, or are you just kind of in there because there's, a sort of paucity of options beneath the sort of top 10? And I feel like Wardley's kind of in there, in that kind of same boat as well. You've got other names like Otto Wallin, for example. Like, would you have Wallin as like better than Fabio Wardley on a ranking? It's tough to say, isn't it? Really, he fought arguably better opposition, hasn't necessarily won. But then you're saying, well, he's fought a level above Fabio Wardley. So for me, I don't, in my mind, no. In my mind, if I'm sitting there thinking what I want from a top 10 heavyweight, it wouldn't currently at this moment in time be Fabio Wardley. And frankly, it wouldn't be this fight either, where I look at it and go, that makes you a top 10 heavyweight. I think the win over Fraser Clark was a legit win, obviously it was destructive, but you look at it and go, is that a British level fight? Frankly, rather than a world level fight. So really, for me, I need to really see him against, I guess, some of those sort of names that we kind of mentioned that are on the slide. Maybe someone like a Hrgovic. Maybe if they can sort of tempt Zhilei Zhang back up, or like tempt some of those names that are kind of fought. Even someone like even someone like a Coley is a bit of a wild card. You go with a Coley beat Wardley. Would I fancy Wardley to beat a Coley? So for me, no. But I can see why some people would say yes.
Hmm.
I can see why some people with their flavour would go, he's more my flavour. I think he's like a fringe top 10. But for me, no. I don't have him as a top 10 heavyweight intuitively.
Yeah, and it's a really tough but interesting question, and it's exciting for you. Like some of the names you're bringing out, like in boxing, you're never guaranteed certain fights are going to happen. But Fabio Wardley against Martin Bakole or against Lawrence Okoli, I don't know who would win those fights, but I kind of hope to find out. I think with Wardley, there's kind of the one question here is how good is Fraser Clark? Because Fabio
Yeah,
Wardley drew to Fraser Clark. A lot of people thought he actually lost that fight. And when you take away when you take away kind of that big Fraser Clark win that he had out last time, it's David Adley, who I think is a good fighter, but British level. And when you take, apart from that, there's Nathan Gorman. I don't, you know what I mean?
yeah.
I wouldn't, there's decent fighters there, but I wouldn't say anyone kind of, is there anyone kind of above English level? I'm not so sure, but he's not put too many kind of steps wrong in his career so far, Wardy. And that fight against Fraser Clark was fight of the
Hmm.
year, wasn't it? It was fantastic. So we'll see. Like, I think, well, let's talk after the fight and then we'll kind of maybe have different opinions. Elliot, it's prediction time. I'm always keen to get predictions when we do these videos because some people's kind of opinions change halfway through the video based on what other people have said. But I'll before I hand things back to you, I will just say Fabio Wardley is a strong favourite here. The odds I'm looking at are for him to win the fight are 1-4, 8-13 by stoppage. 3-1 by decision, whereas Justis Huni is 3-1 to win the fight, 8-1 by KO, and 5-1 to win by decision. But I'll hand things over to you now, Elliot. What is your prediction for this one, please?
Yeah, I'm aligned with that sort of sentiment. To be honest with you, I'm going to go with Fabio Wardley, and I think it's going to be a stoppage. I
Mm.
think, look at Wardley. I think, we talk about him being a certain level, but all credit to him when he sort of gets someone hurt, he really goes. He's a terrific finisher, I think. So I can kind of see Justis Huni not having the power to kind of keep Wardley off him, and Wardley's still a bit raw, still a bit fresh. But when he gets someone hurt, he goes for it. So I'm actually going to think it'd be somewhere. Don't think he'll blast him out their first three, but I think middle rounds probably for me, somewhere sort of 5, 6, 7. I think I can see Wardley. I can see Wardley stopping him in that range. I'm fairly confident it'll be a stoppage as well.
Yeah, yeah. I just think there's the Ipswich factor as well. And I just think if you're Justis Huni, you've not been in any kind of massive fights. You're going somewhere you've probably not heard of before in Ipswich. And it's
You see Ed Sheeran sit in front row, you think, what is going on
exactly,
here?
exactly. I don't know, maybe some of the Ipswich players who've just been relegated who will kind of want some sort of, retribution. I don't know, but I just
The
think
lap's got his Chelsea shirt on. Yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah,
exactly. And then
yeah.
you go in there and I don't know how many people there are going to be there, but over 20,000, I believe. And I think there's that factor as well. And that's why one of many reasons why I'm swaying towards Fabio Wardley as well. And I will go for a stoppage. I think that probably Wardley's a massive punch. We saw what happened against Razor Clark last time out, but I'll go a bit later than you, Elliot. I'll go round 9 or 10. But I think it's going to be a good fight. I think there's a bit of the unknown there. I kind of like that there's that sort of jeopardy with Huni coming in, as you don't know how Wardley's kind of going to react to that. But Huni's had enough time to prepare for this fight, in my opinion. This is not kind of a Martin Bakoli, Joseph Parker situation. He's been given enough time to prepare for this. But I'm agreeing with you. I'm going for Fabio Wardley stoppage, but we will see. If you like this video, please do subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Other than that, Elliot, thank you for your time. Thank you for your opinions, and I'll speak to you again very soon.
Thank you very much. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.